I can tell a Star Wars related joke. I guess it's not dirty. So,
That's the first important
Yeah.
thing.
but so there's these two Jawas go to the Star Wars cantina, and one Jawa says, "Hey, who was that lady I saw you riding around in your sandcrawler with?" And the second Jawa says, "That wasn't any lady. That was my wife."
Okay.
What?
Get it? Get it?
Oh,
Because
get it.
his wife is not a lady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Benny Youngman
What?
did it much better,
Yeah.
brother.
Take my Jawa wife, please.
Looky, Senator. Decent Jedi arriving.
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I am the Senate.
This is the way.
So, we'll start at the beginning. At the beginning.
You need to say hello.
I don't know. We can say that. Hello. Hello. You guys get Oh, I can't remember what's it called.
This is Doubtfire.
Little Britain in America.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a sketch in that. Hello, I'm a lady. Never mind. And yeah, so yeah, I just thought we'd just get into it. Do it how you like. So we are discussing the finale of the Mandalorian, and we are going to break it down bit by bit, as much as I can remember roughly, and we will try to keep it as one man at a time, best we can. Well, so we don't start talking over each other too much. And so before the credits, or what when called the credits go up, we have Dr. Pershing being captured by well, it was all of them, wasn't it? In the Slave One ship, and then the little bragging of Alderaan, which I found a little bit disturbing the second time round more than the first time round. And the sort of obnoxious Imperial pilots.
Yeah, that guy was odd.
Apart from one of them was quite, I'm not with him. And didn't. Oh, it was a funny thing. He got shot in the back of the head, and he sort of falls to the floor, making noises. Then he goes, oh, after he's been shot in the back of the head, which is a little bit odd.
Well, I think those pilots, it's kind of post-Empire. So some of them, like the one guy is just there for the job. So yeah, he didn't have a death wish or didn't want any part of anything or whatever, because they think they're pirates. They don't know that it's a bigger scheme until the Mando says something to the doctor to indicate that they have a history or something. And then the guy takes up arms, takes him as a human shield, and gets into it a little bit more. Realizes it's not just pirates. There's something else. There's something bigger at play here, and he's trying to save his own skin. But yeah, his interaction with regarding Alderaan was intense. And I had a question. I've been meaning to ask, haven't looked or whatever. That he asked, I was on that Death Star or whatever, and she says, "Which one?" And he says, "So you think you're funny?" And I gotta admit, I don't know that I get what went on there in that conversation.
Because she's like, which one? Because they both got destroyed. So
Yeah.
trying to brag about it. And
It was a
he's-
joke, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. He
wasn't actually on it, and she called him out.
No, he
on
was
it?
on it. He was on the first one. Because he said he saw. Well, he said he saw.
But he got off.
Yeah, he got off.
Yeah.
he was talking
He
about
evacuated in their moment of triumph.
Alderaan.
Well,
I mean, there is-
Unlike-
there is a
unlike
I
gap.
think he's
Tarkin.
too young. I think he's too young for Death Star 1.
I was going to say that. What is the time difference
Well,
here?
Death Star 1's probably only like maybe
5 years?
10
years, 10 years.
10 years at the most.
And actually, Death Star 1's the one that blew up Alderaan, so it had to have been that one.
Yeah.
I guess she was pointing out they're just otherwise making the which one were you on, because we blew up both the good guys blew up both of them, so whatever, tough guy. It was just I love the exchange, but I couldn't get my head around what they were trying to poke fun
I was
at.
waiting for him to say, like, I had friends on that Death Star, like the T-shirts say.
Well, he did. He said something about thousands.
Yeah, he almost said it.
Thousands of.
No, he said millions.
Millions.
He said millions.
Yes, no, I thought it's good to. They've done that a few times in this Mandalorian series, and they reminded us of the cost on the other side and
The human
views
cost.
and opinions and that kind of stuff. And it's good to get that reminder of millions of Imperials were killed as well.
It's to your point, Stephen, with the believer. That like you said, it touched on that too. The human cost of galactic combat. It's I don't like being made to feel sympathetic to the bad guys, and they were clearly the bad guys, right? But yeah, when he shot that officer point blank and it went through his chest cavity and out the back, I felt that guy deserved it, as opposed to the troopers who were cheering that they finally got two of their colleagues made it through these weird ambushes that the local resistance kept conducting, So when TIE fighters swoop in and they're blowing the heck out of these aliens, you're like cheering for them. And the elation that we felt.
Yes, the previous episode, yes, I actually did feel that bit. I did feel a little bit of, I don't want to say support for the Imperials, but I felt for them. They were there, seeing all their shipments blown up and all that kind of stuff, and these guys get through. It was a big deal, wasn't it? And it was great to see that other side of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
but
back to the finale sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she shot that guy in the face, right next to the face of Dr. Pershing. I was expecting to see him with a bandage on the side of his head in the next scene, but pretty okay compared to. I mean, what would his damages have been? Sores on his head, or his eardrum perforated, or I mean, looked pretty okay in the next.
He held his ear.
Yeah, he's holding his ear afterwards to kind of indicate the shot or whatever. But I think more the takeaway, from that was that caught me in the first time watching it and subsequent or whatever, is the Mando turns and gives her a look.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you are a badass. That he learned something in that moment, maybe about her. Or wanted to learn something that there is, or realize there is something more he wants to learn about her whenever they get the chance to talk or whatever, because it was a pronounced, great bit of helmet acting to turn and look at her to like, wow, okay, that was intense type of scenario. Because it was. I mean, she had enough and didn't like him calling out the Alderaan and making light of what took place there. So yeah, that was,
How
it was
did
a
they know
great
that
start.
was the drop trooper?
Her arm, she's got the arm tattoos.
Oh, okay.
Indicated that, because I remember that from the earlier or first season that they needed to cover that up. I don't recall. She's still
wearing the uniform? I didn't remember that. That's right. Yeah.
Did we learn something new that the tier was related to Alderaan?
Yeah.
Or did we know that before?
There were no. I think you're right about the tier being related to Alderaan, because that pilot says it. He's like, he calls her. Yeah, he calls her a dropper first, and then he says, "Yeah, I saw the tier," and he starts talking about Alderaan, which.
But we knew she was from Alderaan from Moff Gideon's calling everybody out, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was new, but I didn't recall if we had learned anything about the tier.
I don't think they had ever explained what exactly the tier stood for.
All right, so yeah, cool that we got a little bit of closure, if you will, on that little piece. Yeah, it was a great start to the episode, obviously, with the Slave One firing away and coming on. You're like, all right, we're getting right into the action. There's no.
Well, out of all the ways I
fluff.
expected it to start, I didn't expect it to start with them kidnapping him.
No.
I mean, that you would have thought that they would have found the location of the freighter and then done some reconnaissance scans or get some charts up of that kind of freighter and then work out how to infiltrate it and all that kind of stuff. But yet, they go and get him. Obviously, they must have known that he was on his way from somewhere to somewhere else.
Yeah. My question about that is the pilot, the Imperial pilot, when he has Dr. Pershing and tells him, do you know who this is? He's a high value target to the New Republic. Why is that? Why would the New Republic want him?
Well, there's the case. They must know about the cloning if he's a high value target.
I mean, yeah, is he a high value target just because he's important to them?
Is he a Galen?
Or what purpose?
Is he a Galen Urso type? Where
what purpose would he serve the New Republic? Because they obviously must want him for something if he's that high value of a target.
Well, they're not hunting down Gideon, so I don't know.
That kind of stood out to me. I was like, why would he be a high value target for the New Republic? I mean, only to stop them from whatever they were doing, or is there something that they want to use him for?
Yeah, because he said if you kill him, the New Republic's gonna come for you.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously they really want him. They really need him for something, which I wonder what that could be.
I wanna venture that maybe the thing with Pershing is he's kind of like a Joseph Mengele type. The New Republic is Gideon, the reward for Gideon, and like Kara says, oh well, if we bring him back alive, they're going to double the reward. So there does seem to be rewards being offered for these highly placed Imperials. I get the feeling that Pershing might have been doing some war crime type stuff in his effort to further the cloning technology, or maybe before cloning came, he was studying cloning. Maybe he was doing some other hellacious stuff, So I get the feeling that the New Republic wants to establish itself as bringing people to justice, and capturing Pershing would probably be a big public relations a coup for them, where, look, this is one of the most feared and wanted imperial experimenters of humans, and I would love to know Pershing's background, because he seems like a sympathetic person. But
we don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, maybe he has the death sentence on 12 systems.
like Dr. Evanzan. Yeah.
Ooh, maybe they work together.
Yeah, the thing with him, I always do get that sense that he was probably kidnapped by Gideon, forced to work for him, because he's always very willing to, he wants to protect Grogu.
To help Mando.
And he's like, if Mando or whoever, he's always willing to help and just turn on the Empire. So I don't get the sense that
he's not a true
working. Yeah, he's not working for them by choice necessarily.
That's what I suggest. Is he a Galen Urso type, where he's working for them, but under duress of sorts? Right. So he's a top tier target of the Republic, and if they find out he's dead because of you guys, you pirates, the Republic's going to be, nobody's going to be happy, because I think he was just trying to leverage anything he could to keep himself alive. That they realized these guys weren't Imperials, so if they're on the good guy side, you want to say, well, this is that's where it is confusing. If this is a target of the Republic and they find out he's dead because of you, it's going to have something to do with trying to keep the pirates.
Maybe because
trying to save his own skins of what he's talking.
Maybe because the Imperials don't have the forces. Like, if not, he would have said, well, if you kill him, then the Empire's going to come and get you. But they probably don't have the resources to go and hunt for this guy, or even care, so, maybe, I mean, you got to think about it, just like Galen Urso, they were part of the Old Republic, which were the good guys, so, I mean, they didn't necessarily change the regime changed, so, essentially, he could still be kind of, considered good, but he was a scientist, so they probably need him for some stuff, so, yeah, like you said, maybe they're trying to do the clone, technology again, but... And now it's the New Republic. They're trying to see, okay, who's still around from back, and
It'd be very interesting if they are trying to do some cloning of their own in the background, sort of thing.
If you dissect it to this point, I told myself I wasn't going to say this phrase. This is where the show gets the pass. If he's that important of a target, why would he be flying in a Lambda class shuttle with absolutely no support around him whatsoever? If he's that high value or whatever, he shouldn't be flying around by himself, kind of thing. But
why not an escort?
He was, so right, such as he was. So our guys were able to capture him.
And right now that you said that made me think maybe he's not really. Maybe that's just what this guy said to kind of get them to back off.
So exactly right. That was my point earlier. Right. He's just trying to save his own skin and find some way to get out of that situation. But we can't take what that guy says in that moment as the gospel as to what's going on here.
Yeah, but Kara would know if that was true or not. Soon as he said it, she would know.
The pilot.
I'd like to know more about him. He doesn't seem to. You can't read him very well. It's not like the minute he's helping them with the plan and that kind of saying, I didn't want to be with them anyway, Governor. I'm so glad you got me. Can you give me some? I'll help you, but can you give me some sort of a
immunity? They have my family kidnapped or something,
There's none of that. Yeah. He's a very quiet. It's almost like. It sort of reminds me a bit like Charlie from Lost. It's a bit like he's been on drugs sniffing or something like that. He's like very quiet and sort of.
Just keep looking at his nails.
Yeah, it's very well trimmed beard and hair and that kind of stuff. It's a strange character, and we don't really know anything about him.
Not Penny's starship.
It's not Penny. Yeah, not Penny's freighter. But it'd be interesting to know more about him. I don't know if we're ever going to see him again now after all this, but we shall see. Moving on, we roughly then get to Boba and Din entering the bar as everybody looks at the two Mandos, or not Mandos, as discussion goes on, enter the bar and look with some sort of interest. But then, of course, we said there's two other Mandos over the other end of the bar already drinking happening. And then there's a little bit of a confrontation, a little bit of a slagging match, but for nothing really. But first thing I thought about when there's the two Bo-Katan and the other one, because we're going to keep saying that throughout this Senate. The other one, where's the other one? Where's the third one? Where's the bloke? Did he not afford him?
Did he not make it when they did the freighter?
He was still around, wasn't he?
No, he did. Yeah, I wondered the same thing, but it wasn't. I don't know.
He was on the refresher.
It's not the end of the world, but I'm just thinking about. Wasn't he there? I thought was he some? Maybe they couldn't. He was double booked.
Well, somebody's got to be flying. Somebody. The ship that they captured and all that has to be. So I would kind of assume. That these two are off. Mando didn't go back to where he originally found him. These two are off in a bar somewhere on some planet. We don't know that planet, right? That planet was new with the 3 Mile Island smokestacks or whatever scattered across. We've never seen anything like that before, and we don't know where they were. I didn't see anything in the closed captioning that said what kind of planet they were on. So that was on there. So those two are off at a bar somewhere. So they track him down in that sense. So that bloke could be, somewhere. Obviously, he's somewhere else back to the ship, whatever.
I could have sworn that was Lothal.
That's what I said.
Yeah, where it was.
I thought so too when they first popped in, but
because the fields and all that stuff they showed. Yeah, I was like, like, are they gonna?
So we have this conversation. We have this conversation. Bo-Katan says you're not a Mandalorian, and Boba says never said I was.
Yeah,
but I thought we closed that one up in the previous couple of episodes that he was a Mandalorian.
His donor was.
It depends on the asterisk that is. What does it mean to be a Mandalorian? And the best part about that line was she, castingly says, "You're not a Mandalorian," and Fett says, "I never said I was." I'm just, I loved that line from Fett.
It was a great conversation going on there.
Yeah, it really was.
But is he talking about Mandalorian like in the like not spiritual sense, but like in their kind of honorable sense, like how they have their duties and their rules? Like Boba Fett doesn't care; he just does his own thing, but he has all the skills.
Well, he's obviously got no love for it, has he? He says that basically calls it rubbish, race to space.
I would love to know what's going on Mandalore right now, because the way he talks about Mandalore, he's like, "You're gonna waste your time and go back there and fight for that." It's probably like you said, rubbish. It's probably
It's got to be
she's
a
gonna-
wasteland of some sort, isn't it?
It's
I mean,
gotta
in
be,
Rebels
gotta
it was.
be.
In Rebels,
Yeah.
it was pretty much a wasteland. Like
Yeah.
they
He said-
burned it.
Yeah.
He said, so somehow Fett, we don't know, and we'll find out, and that's going to be a great story or whatever. But Fett says, somehow he knows, so he hasn't been truly isolated. He knows that Mandalore was turned to glass. He says the Empire turned that planet to glass or something to that extent or whatever. So there's to be Mandalorian has an asterisk around it that is, what makes this show awesome and what's going to make that story awesome and what makes that line by Fett, I never said I was. So dripping with what so much information in there is to is he, isn't he, does he believe he is, what does it mean to be, all of that is going to make for a great story as they continue to tell it to us.
Not to go off on a
Yeah,
tangent,
there's
but do you guys know? Okay, they had released that Clone Wars unfinished episode. I think they did at Celebration where they show how Boba got the dent on his helmet,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In that
and
fight,
he's dueling with who was he dueling with?
Cad Bane.
With Cad Bane.
Yeah, Cad Bane. What's that planet supposed to be? Mandalore, maybe?
Well, I thought
Maybe
they were
that's
just
not-
on some
I think it was.
outpost somewhere.
No, yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
they.
I haven't
mentioned
seen-
where that was.
Yeah,
I
I
pretty
haven't seen that one,
remember it
but
being Mandalore. It's sort of a. Well, it's
But
hard
now
to
I'm
see.
wondering,
How'd he get
what
the-
did he shoot him with to make a dent in the helmet?
That's
Well,
Slug
exactly,
thrower.
yes, given later on, yes, exactly.
That doesn't make
Um,
sense now.
Their explanation is that it's not full Beskar, that it's Durasteel and Beskar, his helmet.
Okay.
It did.
So-
It did. Bo-Katan did indicate that, right? She says only the dark
Pure.
saber can be,
By
deflected
pure
by
Beskar.
only. Yeah, yeah. I like what he was like. Just take it. Just look. Just take it.
Now you're getting your
I
head
don't want-
yourself.
Hey,
Hold on,
yourself.
hold on.
sorry,
We'll
sorry,
get
sorry,
there.
sorry.
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get
So
there.
yeah,
so
I was
much, yeah.
I was thinking about the whole Bobo Mando thing now, because like I've seen some people say, wait a minute, he just said he was a Mandalorian last episode, and I don't think he really did say he was a Mandalorian. He said his father
Gave him the armor.
gave him. That's all he said, is that he basically inherited his father's armor. But I don't know if he implied or he said that, like, I guess his father considered himself to be a Mandalorian. Django considered it as a foundling, I guess. Not unlike Din. But I don't think that
He did
Boba.
say my father was a foundling, right?
Yeah, something I can't remember.
It's
I don't
something
think
like
he
that,
said
yeah.
it, but I don't think
I
he
know
said
Din,
it, but
Din told
she
him
did.
your father was a foundling then.
I mean,
and then that's when he showed him the chain code and the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Which
So
is
I
good
don't
enough
think- I
for.
don't-
Yeah.
So I don't think Boba really ever necessarily considered himself
he
to be a
doesn't.
Mandalorian. He wears the armor, but that's about it. So that's why when Bo-Katan tells him, he never said he did. Yeah, he never did say that he did. But I think other people kind of got mixed up with the whole conversation and the chain code and Django and the foundling thing. So they think he did, but no, in my opinion, I don't think he ever did. He never said that. It was his
I need to
father.
see, I need to see a
like the-
transcript of that conversation, I think. To
I like
remind
the
me.
whole line of Bo-Katan. She's like, I know your voice. I've heard your voice, thousands
Yeah,
of
that
times.
was great.
Yeah,
That
That's
was great.
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah, she was like, "You're
I'm gonna-
not. You think you're unique, but you're not." Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question, Nation. Is Fett's armor Django's armor that we saw in the movies? Physically the same thing?
That's
It's
Just
supposed to
repainted?
be.
That's what he said.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but
That's
it
why
doesn't
he's
look
so,
the same.
Attached to it,
that's
yeah.
why it's so important to him, because he said it was his father's armor. So.
And then I don't know my Fett lore. Up on the chest plate where the the logo, the horse logo would be, the alligator logo would be. There's something electronic up there.
Yeah, I noticed that. Some
What-
lights, red lights and stuff.
Does anyone
Yeah.
know what that is?
No.
Oh, so we have no Fett aficionados in the Senate.
I can tell you what it is from a piece of aesthetics. It's probably just some red LEDs behind some plastic.
No, I want to know the in universe. Yeah,
But
I-
what's the purpose?
3
the purpose
AAA
of-
batteries.
because the Marshal had it. In one point in time, there was one scene when we see the Marshal with it, where it's like really on and really got numbers or something going on there, and I just
And that
wondered.
was the first time I ever noticed that.
Yeah,
Because
likewise,
Back
that's
in the
why-
OT,
No.
when
Was
I'd
that
see
there in the
Boba Fett,
original?
I had never noticed that in the OT.
Yeah, it's
wasn't
I'm
there.
glad I brought it up,
always
That's where I first
That-
noticed it as well, but was so afraid to show my ignorance to Fett to ask the question back then as to what was that. But
Well,
obviously,
yeah.
not
No,
all of us
there's
are well versed on our Fett lore.
I mean,
We don't have any
they're
Mando
highlighting
merch
different
hiding in the Sando.
they're highlighting different things about the armor this time. Just like the knee rockets, like I had always seen those, but he had obviously never used them, and I wasn't even clear exactly what they were. So when he fired them, I was like, aha, okay, that's what that
Now
is.
I know.
Yeah, but
There's a friend of mine belongs to the Mando Mercs, and they routinely incorporate that LED readout. It looks like it's two slots cut into the armor, and behind it there's some kind of a readout. I think the armor they made for Andy Gutierrez had that feature on it. I can do some research and post it in the group later.
You can't
but-
look at it yourself, though, can you? Not easily.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's
You'd
meant
almost
to
get
be
crook in the
visible.
neck trying to read that.
Yeah.
I mean, they could project out maybe like a projection screen so they can watch TV.
Yeah, I didn't know he had
Yeah,
I didn't know he had a hollow projector on his gauntlet. you
That
know,
was a good point,
so
That's how he
there's-
watches the circus thing from the holiday special.
Yeah, I like the. So continuing on with that scene, I like the fight scene with him and her, where he
It was
does the
yeah.
he does the wrist, the Spider-Man thing, and she's not having any of it. She's holding her own. It wraps around her arm
Yeah.
or whatever, but she's holding her own, and he has to strain to be pulling. It's a good fight, and it shows that
Yeah.
Fett is equaled a little bit by her to some extent. And I just enjoyed the fight scene that he didn't go in there and completely take over. That he got a little bit of comeuppance as well.
It's a little bit
in
like an
fighting
old
her.
man, didn't he, compared
Well,
to
yeah, certainly.
in that one.
Yeah,
But it's still,
I'm
it's a
gonna.
great scene between them. It's just a wonderful thing to
And
watch.
just fire repel fire then? Is that the thing?
Apparently, yeah.
Is that the thing?
That was interesting.
It's like paper, rock, scissors, isn't it? That was, isn't it? Both fire. Oh no, we both drew. Okay, so moving on, we skipped over the great the plan and that kind of stuff. So the plan starts with the hyperspacing in and the slave again attacking the shuttle as they head towards the freighter. And as I said before in the chat, Gideon lets them in, despite the fact it very much Bo-Katan's voice saying "There's land," and they sort of squeeze into the hangar bay, which seems to launch right through the front.
You're
Interesting.
skipping the
Call it a
plans.
hangar bay.
I'm skipping the plans, yes,
Oh, yeah,
but
plans.
you can
I
talk.
want to know.
You can
I
talk.
want to know if
about
anybody knows the word
plans.
biovac or bivouac.
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 No,
I posted that in the
bivouac.
chat. I was dumbfounded by that. I was like, wow, is that a made up word? And it's a truly legit word I have since learned. I've been educated, but wow, that was a neat piece.
Yeah,
What
it's
does it mean?
in when I was in doing my military stint, bivouac is basically when you go out in the field and set up camp. So I don't know why they use a French word, but it's a weird way of asking about these droids. I guess she was thinking.
Well, she was
that-
military to some extent, so it kind of shows. I think it speaks to her character's background.
Yeah,
that she
yeah.
would use such a term or whatever when they're flying
not
through hyperspace.
stored.
Was
Yeah,
anybody
they weren't-
not taken out of it when they're flying through hyperspace and they're in the same tunnel following each other? Was that weird?
think-
Is that how hyperspace works?
It was
Wow.
weird, but I think they did that in
They
Rebels.
did on Rebels. Yeah, I say
Yeah.
they did on
I was gonna
Rebels.
say, yeah.
And seeing each other.
Is it something
They-
like that they sync each
Yes.
other's ship up so that they can jump together? I guess that way don't
Jump and come out, but they
separate.
didn't come out. But
Yeah.
hyperspace is so dangerous in doing it or whatever that
Yeah.
you can't be the Blue Angels flying wingtip to wingtip in hyperspace.
It
but
was
that's what made
weird.
It out like it.
Yeah.
It was just. I mean, it needs to be for visually. It needs to be for the
Yeah.
laser, so that they know they're both traveling through
Like,
hyperspace and going.
Wasn't there an episode of Rebels where they had a tracker on the Ghost or on the other ship, the Phantom, and then they had to like drop it out of hyperspace so that
they
yeah.
did
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, they
Yes.
popped out while it was flying. It was a little strange stuff, but still very cool. Whatever. And skipping ahead and getting to that scene, the one thing that I remarked and just thought was awesome was they talked about, as they're in hyperspace, she says, all right, make the shots look convincing.
Yeah.
Here's a plan. As soon as the Slave One drops out of hyperspace, he's on the trigger. There is no hesitation on that. As soon as that thing is on screen and drops out, it's on the trigger. It's just like, wow, that's cool. It's very visually entertaining for sure.
I like the conversation again between her and Boba. You just concentrate on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Make them
really
look
don't like
convincing.
Yeah, Ewan doesn't like her really that much, does he? But he's all for his code and his honor, I suppose, when it suits him and that kind of stuff that he follows with the plan. I would say, we don't want to skip ahead one minute, but I think the Boba Fett series is going to be a completely different ball game, isn't it, compared to Din and his Mando plans, I think.
That's the only way they can.
Violent-ish, I think.
I think that's the only way they can make another Mandalorian show work. He has to be the polar opposite of Din. I felt I felt so bad for Din, man. It's like he's almost been a witness to his own adventure in these last 2 seasons. It's like he's very relatable, and I keep thinking about him as just a babe in the woods. He's now being exposed to all these things and this different mentality and good versus evil, the ambiguity of right versus wrong, the morality, He's just such a fish out of water, and everybody that he comes into contact with, they look at him like, "Where'd you get this guy?" He's just so
he's really wide-eyed and kind of gullible,
Yeah, exactly. Gullible for someone who's such an awesome fighter and who has this clarity of purpose. He always seems like he's like, here, just take it. Just why can't you just take it?
Yeah, so you're extrapolating and or projecting a lot because of the armor to the armor. The individual inside of there and what his morals and what his beliefs and all that is to the individual and not to the armor, but project a lot on it because it's Mandalorian armor. So everybody, or you tend to assume or think and like I say, project on it. And that's what's fun about the show and the character development is to there's somebody in the armor, and Fett is Fett and he's badass, and Din is Din, that he's moral compass or otherwise, some character development into it all that really challenges it. This light cruiser that we've seen, have we seen that somewhere? That it only has like the one launch tube.
It's definitely modified.
The shuttle could dock or where the
suddenly
they
gone Battlestar Galactica, isn't it?
The launch tube.
The launch tube and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Was it for launching ties only? Because it didn't look like that shuttle fit in there.
That was, I think it did because she came in hot, and that was my question about the light shuttle. And if anybody knows the ship, that's the only place that ships can land, come and go. So because they tell her to stay away from the launch tube, we're going to launch ties. So that's kind of what I'm asking her to confirm if we see it, that was the only place they can come and go. Any other ships in and out of it. And so that's why they kind of said we're coming in, and they said, well, we'll stay away from the launch tube. We're going to launch in ties.
There must be somewhere else they can come in. That's just the launch tube. So there's only one that only goes in one direction, or it's supposed to.
That's a good point. Direction. Yes.
But I'm sure there's another way they can.
So we think there's somewhere else that you're supposed to come in.
Yeah.
Let me.
They told her stay away from that. You're going to come in, and she's no, I don't have time. I have to.
That's why I'm asking you, because they specifically said stay away from it, and I'm like you. Really, they only have the one way in, one docking, but it's a light cruiser. It's a small cruiser. It's a small.
No, I'm sure they had another. I'm sure they had another entrance. But that's the launch tube. That's like you only get launched from there. You don't enter.
The exit only.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, so it was like that in Battlestar Galactica. They launched out one end, didn't they? And they land in the other end.
Yeah.
It's funny. I made the observation of actually, Ron. Are you into the ships, because you're making these observations about the starships that I'm like, yeah, that's right, that's true. In the last episode with where they took Baby Yoda, the Dark Troopers deployed from a port in the side of the ship, so maybe. But I'm thinking that's also where Mando blew them out of the yes. Yeah, I think that might be just for them, because Mando was able to open a bulkhead and blast them out into space.
Yeah, that was small. Yeah, they're not ships, so they could jump just about out of anywhere. And to that point, somewhere later, our heroes cross some
Bridge.
traditional Imperial bridge with no guardrails over top of a ray shielded hole. What the heck? I mean, it made for a great visual scene, but what was that all about?
It was open, because that stormtrooper fell right into outer space.
It's a docking. Maybe that bridge retracts or something, and it's not always. And it could be a place to dock, or a ship could get. But it's just a weird thing. But it made for, again, visual effects and a great story of them getting trapped and almost getting it. And
I wonder if there's going to be a Mando visual guide kind of book, because that would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it?
There's got to be something to explain what that was about, because we can't be the only ones.
Yeah, no, you say it.
What an odd bridge to have. But yeah, just the whole heist, the whole getting to the bridge, getting to the child kind of thing was just sheer entertainment, just good stuff. Her weapon failing. I love that.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
I'm sure everybody did, but the way, it depends if you've been listening to the podcast, but there's been speculative rumor that maybe this was her last season because of something she said and the way she was talking about how I've had a blast and it was fun. So did any of that factor into anybody else's, as her guns not firing and stuff? We were like, oh, she's going to get it. She's going to get it. She's going to get it, because of hearing that stuff on podcasts. I was in that mindset. I was like, oh no, maybe that. And I don't like be taken out of things like that because of hearing stuff, speculative type stuff like that or whatever. But I definitely had that thought at some point. It's just like, oh, maybe there is some truth to that. Watch her closely. She might not make it.
I know there was some backlash recently about some comments she made, but I don't think it ever really got much traction. Like it didn't really blow up into anything. So I honestly didn't know. I didn't even
pay it.
That didn't even phase my mind, to be honest.
I didn't think anybody was going to get it. I mean, this is generally the kind of show a bit where generally nobody comes out successfully, doesn't it? But having said that, people have died.
Ask Queel how he feels about that.
Yeah, that's where I was going as well.
Last year, we lost quite. We had a few tear jerkers, didn't we?
I kind of did think somebody might die, but I kind of thought maybe it would be Sasha Banks' character, what's her name, Posca. The other Mandalorian. I thought she's kind of one that's sort of expendable.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe they would kill her off, but they didn't.
Well, probably the only one that's expendable, really, isn't it? Of all of them, when you think about it.
She seems less. Yeah.
Fennec could go as well, but Fennec's cool character and Fett's sidekick to some extent, so you wouldn't really want to see her go. But yeah, her losing her gun and going around and the fight scenes were odd. They were funny, but they would like do a karate kick or something to a stormtrooper and get him to the ground and then shoot him, and it just seemed like, why not just shoot him first? Why hit him in the why hit him in the head and stun him and all that, and then have to shoot? But again, it's
did you guys notice most of the time when they shot the troopers, they were shooting them like in between the armor? Like, I thought that was a nice touch. It made it seem like they weren't so weak. Like, the blaster bolts all went through like the neck or like the shoulder.
Maybe, but they also would shoot them once, or dead-eye Dick type of shot. One shot.
I noticed that every shot that Gideon made was between the armor to Bo-Katan. He just like and she somehow lived. So
will you wait till we get there?
Oh.
Yep, they're doing very well at thinking ahead.
I thought this was relative to the point.
Yes, well, you're definitely getting to the point. But let's concentrate on the. I mean, they really set up the Death Troopers. They had to, I suppose, with that one against Din, in terms of how deadly they were and how much he couldn't do much against them.
Yeah, much damage to him.
And it had to be for what was coming up. But they seriously kicked. One of them kicked arse.
Well, shows how strong that helmet is, whatever. But I wondered.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's just
very cool visual where he lights the fire flame gauntlet part of his, bat symbols, or whatever. Just the fire coming up through the dark trooper as he turns his head was very.
So is the visor on the helmet made of Beskar too? Because shouldn't it have
cracked? The glass bit.
Yeah.
Could have cracked.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Cracked, yeah.
It wasn't actually hitting that bit, was he not? I don't know.
Yeah,
well, he's hit square in the nose, so yeah. You to Ricky's point, there's definitely
that seems to be the If they're not
Yeah,
firing
that's a
guns,
good point.
It,
It should have cracked.
You would think anyway, but it was kind of giving, or as he was getting knocked into. I'm just not quite sure why the Dark Trooper stopped. Because he hit the pipe. Why did he was punching him, and then all of a sudden he kind of stops and.
Well, isn't that when he put the
he
flames
lit
on him,
fire.
and that's what made him stop?
That's what made
fire.
Worried
Which
it might
didn't seem
He
to
burned
really
away.
affect it,
Then I got flashbacks of General Grievous in that part.
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
it?
that's very cool.
Yeah. He burned away all the plastic parts. He could, like Ron said, there's a neck seal that goes between the torso and the helmet. And when Mandalorian lit him up, you could see, even after the flames had ended, you could see the neck seal disintegrating. It looked like a ring of fire just kind of disintegrating down towards the.
So that's how he was
towards
able to stick the hole in there. Oh.
Well, it's
I
a
think so.
droid. Is there a need for a neck seal? You know what I mean? I see what you're saying. If it was a person,
Rubber parts, I guess.
or just whatever makes it work.
You gotta protect the wires,
Yeah, right. All right.
What was the deal? What was the deal with all the the I don't know what you call it, piping that came off of them, and it was almost like liquid going into them? Was that just fuel? Was that what they were?
Yeah, that was strange, like a cryogen.
I was trying to work out why do these droids need to be powered up for a minute?
Yeah.
Beforehand, and all other droids don't really seem to have a problem with this.
Is that their
you said they were cooling chip,
so that
right?
Unbeatable, and so they gotta have limits. They gotta give them limits.
Sure, right. There's got to be something to the storytelling aspect of we've got to have some way to, because if they were immediately available as soon as the ship lands, you deploy them. But right, so what's our in-universe explanation as to why they need to be powered up? And it just because they can't.
They suck too much power.
Yeah,
apparently.
I think just because of how powerful they are, they require a lot of energy.
Yeah, there was a comment, I think Fennec said, when they were going through the plan and they had the hologram of the cruiser up, Fennec said something about they've got to be biovac'd into something. There was a term that they used.
Bivouacked.
Yeah. What does that
Yeah,
even
we
mean?
talked about that before you came a little earlier.
Well, that's just where they're located. But yeah, they did talk about
Yeah.
Powered up. But Steven just wanted to blow right thugh the plan part of the thing. So we
I didn't think there was much to say about that.
again, just
only like the only scene that had dialogue in it.
Just want to get to the action.
Closing off for that. Too much talk.
The meat of the show. One scene, like Ricky said, that had all the dialogue. Okay, we're just gonna blow right through
People
that.
start talking and Steven checks out.
Check that. Give me the action.
He's just blow something up.
To the original question of there was something to the piping, connected to them, and when it disconnects and the hissing, what they need to, is that how they power up, is through a power gas, or I was kidding, maybe it was a coolant system to keep.
Yeah,
I thought they said something about a coolant system. I don't know.
That makes sense.
That could make sense.
Did you guys notice that those pipes that we're talking about, those tubes that kind of automatically disconnect when they're fully charged, they weren't connected to anything. It was almost like a magnetic connection to the breastplate, because there isn't a nozzle or a female connector. It's
like a grease fitting type of thing that was
right.
It was a solid plate basically.
It was just just attached to the armor, and it came off without any marks.
Well, I guess it's like charging your phone, and you just put it down on a little pad.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Wow, that's.
But it probably generates heat, which is why you need the coolant thing to kind of keep it cooling while it's charging. There we go. We figured it out.
Well, because when they show the diagram of how many there are when they're looking through the plans and the scene that Stephen wanted to skip over, there's little red dots in the middle of every Dark Trooper. That's the heat point. So and there was about 40 of them in there or more from looking at that readout that they had.
I could share the screen with these things, couldn't I? Yeah, was there 40 next? So I tried to count them before, because I was doing that.
He said there's a platoon.
Yeah, there's a lot.
A platoon is usually it's 24 guys.
To me, it looked like there
Yeah.
were more when they flew back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than there
what I
were
thought,
than
yeah.
they were when they got sucked
Yeah.
out. Because I was like, were they double or triple stacked in those things? Because it didn't look like there was that many. But then when they were flying in, there was all these red dots. I'm like, what the?
There's
where all these
definitely
guys come from?
there's definitely some numbers off there. I think if you go back and look at it, because I had the same sort of thought as to what flew out of there, what we've seen walking, what we saw flying back in.
Yeah.
So maybe there was another bivouac, something.
Was it? Yeah.
something's off.
I was just gonna say, was there symmetry to it? So you had that bridge with the force field across, and you see when you look at that shot, there's actually two lots of those dark troopers coming up to that bridge on either side of the ship. So I kind of wonder if there was some symmetry to, like you said, there was a second chamber for those guys. I wonder.
That
I
would
don't
make
know.
sense.
Yeah.
You would
Yeah, that
think
would
though
make
he would
sense.
have to hit the release to there
True.
would be a release to each one, not one release that does both. But we'll figure out how. Somehow he did it, right? We all saw it.
So I mean, going back to the last time when they were on the I can't remember the name of the planet, and they infiltrate that Imperial base, and you see the messed up experimental clone thingy, and you
Chapter
see
14.
Yes, you see a bit of Death Troop stuff. I got really confused. I thought the M count and all that cloning stuff and stuff was also related to the Dark Troopers.
Hmm.
But it seems that it's not. They are just droids. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Just
about
figured
a
out the human
clone
equation.
person or inside them. But then Dr. Pershing says something about these are third generation. There's we've eliminated the need for a person or whatever. But I mean,
in the Dark Forces comic, not Dark Forces game, there are three phases. Phase 3 Dark Trooper is just a robot. I think Phase 2 was a type of armor, and Phase 1 was an armature. But I also remember, and this is what I thought they were going to do, is in the game Dark Forces, the guy who runs the Dark Trooper program is able to get into the armor of Dark Trooper, and you fight him. He's the last boss, so you fight him. I thought that Gideon's armor, the way it matches up with the Dark Troopers, they were going to have a moment where he steps in. But
that would have been good.
Yeah.
So when they take the bridge, the female Imperial that has been in a couple of episodes that we think is tied to some other video game franchise or something, whatever, she doesn't make it, right? They literally killed everybody on the bridge. That she was an interesting character for a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
unless everybody comes back in Star Wars, so yeah, she could have hid somewhere on something. She was just an interesting character, interesting actress. And
she comes back in the future episode and goes, just a scratch.
Tis a scratch.
There was a rumor that she was going to be a Sabine in as a plant on that bridge. I thought that would have been kind of interesting, but a little bit convoluted, but a little bit
convoluted for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she the way Gideon talked about the way Gideon talked about our heroes, he's like, they're probably up there slaughtering every person in my ship, including that female second officer that we as an audience got to know. She didn't seem like a bad person. She was doing a job. So Gideon was with true disgust. He was like, they are probably slaughtering my entire crew.
Yeah.
And they did. And
savages that they are or something.
Have you noticed?
Crazy.
All these remnants guys are all true believers, though, so they're pretty much like,
they're still here.
There's nothing that can convince them that they're the bad guys.
Right.
Everybody else just as soon as the big bosses are gone, they just said, that's it. I'm off. I'm leaving the Imperial Army. I'm off to see it the rest of my life.
Mayfeld was one of them.
That's an interesting point, though, because that was a common theme through a couple of these episodes in this season of you're seeing the other side of it. So you talk about that where Gideon is saying savages, and then you had the Imperial pilot on the shuttle. He was talking about Alderaan and you terrorists killed millions, right? So they were really putting it in your face, like there's two sides here to this. and it's not as clear cut as the movies probably have made it out to be. But yeah, and even back to the Mayfeld episode, I mean, that was again more of the kind of same. There's two sides to this, and I just thought that was an interesting thing to throw in there.
Yeah, and it's more of a modern
It is.
kind of trope
Yep.
to make the enemy human, right? Or
It is. Yep.
to put yourself in their perspective. Because I know back during the OT, that was not, things were
No.
black and white. It was like you were
They
good
were.
or you were bad, But
Yep.
now in
Yeah,
more
I-
modern
I-
times,
yeah.
the,
And you don't get that in
the-
World War II films, do you? As well, World War II films. It's
Not
always
really.
Germans are
No.
totally the baddies, and
But like
we
the
were
whole,
the
the
goodies.
whole premise of the prequels, though, that was kind of to humanize like the worst villain in the entire galaxy. So I mean, I can
Yeah.
see why they're trying to go, kind of that route to give you the opposite side.
This is I would I'm gonna say this, and it's I like the modern thinking. I like showing that it's not all black and white. There's also gray, and people do things for a reason. The problem that I have with the trend is that if you humanize the villains and you show that they're just the hero of their own story, which I don't believe, is that now the heroes, the actual heroes, the ones
I
that
mean,
are fighting for good.
we're all rooting for Boba Fett, and he's the bad guy. So,
Well,
It's
but
strange, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
didn't trust
since the
Boba
70s
Fett.
or since the 80s.
I thought Boba Fett was going to turn on Mando, and oddly enough, Mando was the one who was willing to make a deal with Gideon. And if Gideon hadn't tried to cut his legs out from under him, he would have made the deal, and he would have left Bo-Katan and even Kara. He would have been like, "Look, you guys, I'm throwing you to the wolves." So
And I think they would have been fine with it because their whole mission was just to rescue the kid. So if he can get the kid off, then they'll all, do whatever
the
they
kid
need to.
and the saber and the dark saber, he was
Yeah,
willing
he
to
wanted
let
the
Gideon.
kid. She wanted the saber, and they wanted the ship. It was a bonus part or whatever. And to your Alex's point, or whatever, in that scene where he finds Moff Gideon with the child, or whatever, Gideon's in there monologuing or whatever, and the Mandalorian's like, where's this going? Just
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
I just want the kid. He says, drop your weapon. He puts the weapon down, kicks it over.
No problem.
No
Yeah.
question whatever. Just give me the kid. And Moff Gideon's, like I say, is monologuing like a bad guy does, and the man was like, where's this going? Hurry up, let's get to the point where I get the kid and you get whatever.
We've only got 39 minutes already.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, he's not interested.
That was a great scene of and really I bought it that the Moff was gonna
Me too.
Yeah.
walk with a
Me
kid.
too. Yeah.
Right up until he.
But did you buy the fact that Mando would just take the kid and go, or did you think that?
If
Because
you
I
leave
kind of thought. See, I knew. Like I did not buy that Gideon was gonna let him walk.
I
But
thought he was.
I also didn't buy that Mando was like, just give me the kid, I'll give you the saber, and then I didn't buy that either. I thought they were both playing each other.
do you think Mando cared an S about the saber at that point?
No, I don't think he cared
Yeah.
about the saber, but I think he knew that by just giving it to him and then just taking off with Grogu, like I didn't think he was gonna just leave the others, to fend for themselves, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know that I thought he was going to leave them, but once he had the
why
kid
it
in his
was like
possession, then he was.
He didn't care about the saber, like that much. I knew, but the saber kind of. Like if he left him with the saber, well then you leave the bad guy armed, and of course he's very resourceful.
And the only one
he's going to put your
one who
friends in
could.
danger. So that's kind of more like I didn't believe that he would
Well,
just kind of.
Bo-Katan kept saying
him with the
like,
saber.
just get me. She kept saying, just get me to the ship and leave me to Gideon. It's like
I don't
stay out
care
of my
what
way.
happens after.
Yeah,
But she never explained why, obviously.
but like Cara Dune, like I don't believe like he would have just left her. I mean, like he brought her into this. You know what I mean? She kind of volunteered to help him, and then he wasn't going to just ditch her. The other ones he may not have had any loyalty to them, but I think to Cara he does.
This is the thing. At that moment, when he goes into the brig and he sees Grogu, like, please help me. The only one holding all the cards is Gideon. If he, Mando had his Beskar spear, But at that point, he dropped his weapon. He was, and Gideon broke it down. He's like, I know that you've used up all your wrist rockets. I know that all your tricks are
He's still got
you're out of
101
tricks.
other weapons on him, basically. Anyway.
Well,
I
he
think
has
Yeah,
white.
but I think what sells the Mando on it.
They both just knew that they were not going to let the other, regardless of what they were saying, that was kind of like their negotiation to get the other one to drop their guard. But I think they both kind of ultimately knew that they were going to end up, fighting it out. I think
Gideon admits, he says, "I got what I wanted from the child. I got what There was nothing more that the Mando wanted. The Mando didn't care about Gideon. Didn't want to kill him. Doesn't need him destroyed. He just wants the child. So when Gideon says, "All right, you can have him. I've gotten what I need from him, whatever, and all, and is again monologuing, whatever. He doesn't care. He just wants the child. I don't know that I thought he was just going to leave his, everybody that he came with, but." His mindset, his focus, his one thing that he needed to do was get that child in his possession.
But it's almost like that. It's almost like that fable about the scorpion and the frog. You know what I mean? It's like, he helped him and then he still stung him. Why? Because it's his nature. It's like Mando gave him the saber and he still was gonna kill them both. Why? Because it's his nature.
Let's say that. What's the end game? Let's say Mando walks out, says, "I'm gonna take the child, and you can leave." What he basically negotiated with Gideon, who had his child at knife point, and he enjoyed that, holding the sword, the saber over his head. He's like, you could see the light was glowing off of Grogu's head, and. So Mandalorian put down his weapon. He had the Beskar spear, but the reaction time to pull out that spear, and what I'm trying to say is that if Mando had taken the baby and let Gideon to his own devices, would Gideon have gone up to the command, the conning tower, and just finished off these guys, or would he have gotten in a ship and run?
I'm surprised he didn't go.
That's another way to look at it. Is like, was Gideon saying, "Give me the, we'll do the trade, but then you go." But you meaning all of you, not just you two. All of you leave and don't come back. You know what I mean? Like,
but he was saying? He knows that's not going to happen because he knows Bo-Katan.
Because of Bo-Katan. He shot her specifically for a reason.
So, we kind of just took it at face value that it was just you, Mandalorian, leave my ship and get... But maybe he meant you and your crew, all of you get out of here. And
that's fair.
I was thinking that he went into that cell purely because he knew how it would go. He would be defeated, and then he would have outwitted Bo-Katan. I think that was that was his only desire. There was that
he didn't wait on the command in the bridge for a reason. He knew what she was after. He knew who was. I guarantee you, he's on that bridge watching the footage, the cameras that our crew was watching when Special Man showed up, but.
But he'd rather die any other way than have Bo-Katan take him out.
Right. Right. There's definitely a grudge because he could have shot anybody, and he wanted to kill her.
It's like you said. He put himself in the brig on purpose with the child because he knew that it would be Mando that would come after him to get the child, right? He's going to come to the child. So basically, he kind of knew there was one of two. It was going to be one of two outcomes. Either he beats Mando and still gets to keep the saber, or Mando beats him and Mando gets the saber, but
Bo-Katan does not.
But then Bo-Katan does not get the saber. So either way, Bo-Katan doesn't get the saber.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that was clearly evident when they make their way to the bridge, and she's like, "What happened?" And
she's like, "What happened?"
And Moff Gideon's with the smile, with the s-eating grin on his face, going, "Oh, well, a funny thing you should ask. He bested me, and so he has it. Why don't you just get it from him now?"
When he tells him, "Ooh, this is going to be interesting."
Yeah. That
do
was
you think
fun
So,
bit of dialogue.
Do you think those handcuffs that Grogu are wearing are anti-force repellent or something? Because that should not be much of a handicap for anyone with
No,
force powers.
they're not. They're not because he had them on, didn't he? Or no, he didn't. But I don't know. Maybe I kind of don't think they are. I just think they're just so his hands don't move around.
I think,
but to the point of the question you're asking is, why can't Grogu use the Force?
He
I think because
seemed
he
drowsy.
does, and he keeps tiring himself out.
Yeah.
I think he was still
they keep
recovering.
sending stormtroopers in there.
That's what
to force choke, and then he burns himself out.
That's where my head went to when I asked that question of
Yeah.
myself. Is like, they just keep sending things in there to threaten him.
True.
And
But then they don't need the
Gideon is
handcuffs
smart
then.
enough.
You don't need the handcuffs on it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question about the handcuffs.
That's just meanness. That's just to be mean.
They're really
He's trying
evil.
to take. It's because he was trying to take all the knobs off the ship, so they had to.
I love
baby
when
manacles.
I loved when Grogu senses when the X-wing comes through and his ears perk up and his head turns.
Yeah.
I just love that. That was amazing, and especially too when he actually sees a figure on the camera and he puts his little hand up to the thing and it's just like, oh my god, I'm melting here, right? Like this is just amazing. And then, well, yeah.
So before we get to that, I'm curious of you. I didn't know where it was going to end. In terms of there were a number of scenes where it could have been the cliffhangered aspect of the what's going to come, to be continued next season, next whatever kind of thing. Did anyone else look? I didn't look to see the timeline, so I didn't know how much time was left, which was great. I highly recommend. That's the way to watch it, because if there's only 2 minutes left, all right, this has to wrap up quickly. So to me, it ended like it was like, this is going to be the end scene. This is going to be the end scene, and it just kept going and get dramatic. So I wondered if anyone else should stay away from the timestamp.
There was that one cutaway where they show Gideon covering the blaster, and it's already seems like things are wrapping up, sort of. And
exactly.
He's got the blaster, so then I thought, okay, he's gonna kill somebody right now. And I kept thinking it's probably gonna be that one character, the other Mandalorian. Casca. But
do you think
that was the only kind of thing that made me think it was going to end one way, but it didn't.
Do you think the Death Troopers were programmed by a boxer? Because that seems to be their go-to thing. But punch the windows to get out of that thing, punch the Mando's helmet, and then punch the blast doors. That seems to be their go-to.
Well, it's going to be
these are third generation, man. And all they can think of is
what else are they going to do? It's going to be their close quarters, hand-to-hand combat programming.
Yeah.
Is to capture or to hold it and punch or.
It makes inside combat inside.
They were really, really robotic. Like compared to when you watch Clone Wars and there's like the assassin droids they had that would jump around and the commando droids, I guess.
These had a lot more of a Terminator feel to them.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
When they were gonna punch through to the bridge, and they had to punch through the double blast doors, where I was like, oh god, get comfortable because this is going to take a while.
Yeah, I was the same way. Punching? How's punching?
I was like, they'll probably get through, but let's anybody have a sandwich or something?
I was
really long.
I was surprised. Like Ron keeps pointing out. I was surprised, this is one of those things that Star Wars nerds notice. I didn't expect the blast doors to open. I mean, they wrecked the mechanism, right? These two stupid. Those doors should not have opened.
To go back to the question about was anyone looking at the time and stuff, I wasn't, but I will say I kind of felt that it wasn't until my second viewing that I could really sit back and enjoy it, because the whole while, this Jedi is coming through and my family's there with me and it's like, is it Ahsoka? Is it Ezra? Is it? And I'm just like, I'm so pent up for it to be Luke, and I'm just like, I can't enjoy this until I know it's Luke. So I just had to let it go through. And I just had to let it go through. And like I said, it wasn't until I saw the black glove, and even then I was like, I don't know, are they really going to do this? Right. And are we gonna cut away at the last second? But it took me second viewing before I could just sit back and say, okay, I'm okay. Yeah. I can relax here.
I will agree. I did enjoy it more in the second viewing.
I just kept saying, Luke, Luke. It's Luke. I didn't really watch the scene.
What I'm interested in here is that who is controlling the Death Troopers? Why did they suddenly stop when an X-wing enters the hangar bay? And they stop the door. They all turn around. They're all interested in that. So who's telling the Death Troopers what to do and what's their target?
I feel like they just felt like it was an easier target to get to. Somebody's coming in, so that's easier. That person, whoever that is, that they're not protected. So let's get them. These guys, we got to bust through two, glass doors to get to them. Yeah. So let's get whoever the reinforcements are.
I think threat priority is a new challenger appears. These guys are holed up and they're in there to rescue Gideon, or they're going after trying to rescue Gideon.
At the door, I mean, the ones in the hangar bay might turn around and.
Okay, yeah.
But one of the ones at the door, what did they all stop at the same time, pretty much, didn't they? And then concentrate on what was coming in through the hangar bay.
Do we know if they're like a hive mind?
That's where you have to go to, right? As cool as they are, and as Death Troopers they are, and as strong and awesome, right? They are still a third generation, but a first generation droid or whatever. That they have a programming mindset that is the whatever. So it's the hive mentality, and like it was said that now all of a sudden this there's behind closed doors, whereas this threat is now real behind us on our flank. We're going to have to deal with it. Right away, they don't know what it is, but how do they know an X-wing landed and how many it is or anything like that? But still, it's a very cool.
So when did the penny drop for everyone? Was it the X-wing? Was it the kind of the lightsaber? Was it the glove?
To Stephen's point, let's go around. I'd like to go around the horn. I'd love that aspect of Star Wars, and I want to hear everyone's. Right, when did the penny drop for you? As this scene that we all know and unfolds talks about, I want to hear everyone's take from the X-wing to the green saber piece of how.
Well, I can say for me, it wasn't the X-wing. The X-wing didn't do it for me. First thing I was thinking, here comes Filoni. It's the New Republic.
It was the other guy. The New Republic Marshal.
Yeah, that's what I first thought.
I thought that's who it was, because that was my first initial. My first initial thought was, okay, it's this guy. But then I thought, wait a minute, it's not gonna be him, right? And then you see the robe, and then I was like, oh, is that Ahsoka? No, that's not gonna be Luke, is it? And then you see the black glove, and then I still kind of was like, no. But when it was for me is when I saw his hilt, his Return of the Jedi hilt.
Yeah.
Not even before, but once the green blade came out, I was like, boom, that's it. That's Luke. It was like all those little pieces.
It was pointed out to me that Ezra's lightsaber was also green, but that wasn't the first thought.
Yeah, no, but that's why it was the hilt. The hilt is very distinctive. His Return of the. As soon as I saw that was it. And then of course the green blade comes out, and then by then you're like, okay, it's Luke.
I wasn't completely sure until I saw the glove, because to start off with, I was thinking that hood is very puffy and sticking out the side. That could still be Ahsoka. But obviously, when you see the green lightsabers, it's not going to be. She's not going to trade it in her two white lightsabers for the green one. Yes.
So I watched it, and with the X-wing, I was soaking it all in, and didn't think much of what or who it could be. It was just, Kara says, what's great, one X-wing. I was like, yeah, what's one X-wing? How's that going to help? Didn't really think of who it was going to be or whatever. And then, seeing the video, the security camera, grainy black and white video, I was taken out of it just a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's how they're going to do this. They're going to show us this, but we're never really going to see who it is, and we'll speculate all season long, whatever. But then it goes on, and somebody says a Jedi, and Moff Gideon's face just drops to no end, whatever, and he's still swinging or whatever. And they show I'm going to get emotional talking about it. They show the hooded figure, and you're like, I watched it alone for the first time, and I was mouth agape because I couldn't believe what they were doing. What the creatives were about to give us. I wasn't quite sure yet. And when you see that green saber, it was, holy cow, are they really doing this? And he goes on, does his thing. And when he finally pulls his hood back, holy crap, I lost it. It was such, I put this in the chat. I can't, I don't take much for the reaction camera video things or whatever. Because I think people kind of ham it up, but I was just so mouth agape, taken aback that the creatives told that story. They did that. They brought Luke into the mix and showed us what everybody wanted out of the sequel trilogy. I'm not a basher of the sequel trilogy. I flip and love them, but for them to find a way to give the fans the Luke that we all know and love and wanted was just amazing. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, it was just an incredible thing to see and to have that emotion wash over you watching a flippin' TV show is incredible. It
I
really
need a box of tissues now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, folks. It's
It's
amazing. It's something
emotional.
I never
Emotional.
appreciate. I don't
Emotional
appreciate art,
about it.
and for someone to create something like that, to create emotion in you like that, I'm a
Like
very
it's
stoic
episode
individual.
6.5.
Yeah, I'm
The
very,
show is episode
Yeah.
6.5.
Yeah.
This is what, you know, you need this in between stuff like, and it's awesome that they can do that, and everyone. I mean, I haven't heard anybody knock this episode yet, so I mean, it's something universal that I mean, Luke talks to everybody. He's the main character of the whole, series, of Star Wars. It's his adventures. So
my
just to see
emotion.
him, yeah, just to see him, and it does hit you right there.
I
Mhm.
instantly go to my 8-year-old nephew and I texted as soon as it was over. I texted my brother-in-law and I said, "Please tell me you haven't been spoiled, and if you haven't seen this episode yet, I want to watch it with you guys or whatever." And he texted me back that they had watched it that night, and he said his wife was in tears, his mouth was agape, and his son was just eyes glued to the TV, soaking it all in. I was like, yes, that's the exciting aspect, that there's families that get that kind of thing or whatever, that get this, because like you said, Ricky, Luke is the through line for for everything through Star Wars or whatever. And so for them, for a new generation of fans that have the Rey and have all that sort of stuff, but for them to see Luke do his thing, he wasn't sure it was Luke. So I finally did get to watch it last night with my daughter, her first time watching it, whatever. And she, I knew it was exciting, didn't say anything to her, whatever. She's watching it, and when the lightsaber pops green, she's like, "Ahsoka's lightsaber's not green." And I said, in broken voice, I said, "No, sweetie, no, it's not." And then she was like, "Oh, no way!" And then it washes over her, and she realizes what's being witnessed, kind of thing, whatever. It's just such a compelling piece of entertainment, and like I say, in art and creative to evoke such a thing is so powerful. I love it.
Alex,
Yeah,
Alex, do you want to talk about your triple meaning for the
Yeah.
rest of you?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
it's the. Let me say this about Luke Skywalker. It's my wife. She's a Star Wars fan because of me, but she's not really into the lore. And she actually asked me if Padme was Princess Leia one time, and I was like, "Get out of my house." But but the level of commitment that people like Ron and Steven and William and Tony and Ricky, the level of commitment that we have to the storytelling, it can't be stated. It can't. You can say this thing, but to make people understand the emotion behind it, that's another thing. When Luke came on and he undoes the hood the way he does in Return of the Jedi,
Yes.
she said, "Oh, S," out loud in front of our kids. And my daughter, she's always like, language. She gave she shot my wife a look. And so as I'm watching it, Luke, the Jedi turns in the camera on the screen. The Jedi turns, and his cape kind of flies open, and you see that distinctive belt. I knew it was Luke. I knew it was an X-wing coming in, not in combat configuration, not to blow the ship up, but to land by itself. I was like, this is Luke, and I want to say, not for nothing, but I called it. But
I went back and listened, and you're like, "Oh, Alex is spot on."
yeah, thank you. But there's something, the title of this episode was called The Rescue, and as I'm watching it, it kind of dawned on me, like with Mayfeld and the viewer, Fumiyama made us feel what the Mando was experiencing when Mayfeld was explaining about how you blow up Alderaan, you blow up Mandalore, none of it matters. You're him, we're there. There's taking off the helmet, So we kind of had that trip as viewers at the beginning of the episode. We're rooting for the bad guys, and then at the end, you see how evil Hess is, and now you're rooting for the good guys again. With this episode, the rescue, and I'm not I hate, I don't want to sound like I'm crapping on the ST, okay, but there were some,
there's always a
but there's always a but, and it's a big but too. So
well,
there's
we've seen your top half, so we're not surprised.
So there does seem to be I don't think it's deniable that the love and care that has been paid to these characters is just a little bit lacking, either through design or through negligence, or just ignorance of how dedicated we are to these characters in the story, right? So to me, the rescue, it felt, as I was watching it, it wasn't just a literal rescue where they're rescuing Baby Yoda. It was also a rescue of this character, which so many people, not everybody, but a lot of people feel was maligned. But it's also a rescue of fans like Ron, who and myself, who have been waiting to see this Luke. So this episode has triple meaning, the literal rescue, what we see on screen, the rescue of this character, and also the rescue of a fandom that feels like we've been left behind.
Yeah,
and
I certainly don't want us to go down the comparing the contrast and that kind of stuff. We can do that for another debrief at a future date. But I think the way they set this thing up, it had, when you think about it, it could only the best the obvious choice for who to come to Grogu had to be Luke. I mean, why would anybody else turn up?
Hindsight, it's so easy. It's so easy. It makes perfect sense. The X-wing, sure, of course it's Luke, of course. But watching it, it was not for me. It was not. Of course it's Luke. And that was what was great about that first time. You only get that one first chance to be exposed to who is it, what is it, and everybody had that feeling, and everybody watched it. And when did you know, or when did you let yourself know, or when did you let yourself be allowed to say yes, it's Luke kind of moment type of thing or whatever? And that's what's incredibly powerful. But in hindsight, it's so easy to go, well, of course, who else is it going to be? But none of us.
I feel like everybody, if you asked anybody, beforehand, and you really thought about the situation and the way they set it up, I think everybody would have said Luke makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
But because I know for me, if you had asked me, I would say, of course, at this period of time, probably the most powerful Jedi out there that we know is Luke. So it would make sense that he would be the one. But I never thought that they would do it.
No.
As much as Luke would have made sense, I never would have thought that it was Luke. I thought, he makes sense, but they're not going to bring in Luke.
He makes sense, but how does it make sense? Because of what we know. So there's just so much more story in it, and that's why we wouldn't let ourselves go with it makes sense to be Luke, but they're not going to do that because the ramifications of such.
But like watching that X-wing land and stuff, like not 1 second did I ever think it's Mace Windu.
No.
Yeah, but you didn't think, or did you?
I kind of hope.
That's what I want to know to everybody is, when did you allow yourself to unequivocally say, "Oh yeah, it's Luke"? As soon as you see the X-wing, because I don't buy the people.
Yeah, I was kind of on the same thing. When you saw the X-wing, I was like, I hope it's not Dave Filoni. Like, I was like, that would be so lame. Like, that would be like the lamest one. But like, you see him walking. You see as soon as he walked through the hall with the hood, I'm like, okay, I know that hood. And then as soon as you see the hilt, and then when he turns around, I'm like, yeah, that's Luke. And then walking through, and you can see the belt and all, like like you were saying earlier, like and then of course the saber, like it was just awesome just to watch.
But did you guys notice also like the moves he was using, like the way he moved? They really matched it up to his moves and the way he fought in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I even
And
thought
you,
sequel trilogy moves were there. Some of the low spinning
Yeah.
stuff was him.
Uh-huh.
You know, what he does to Kylo, dodging sabers or whatever. But yeah, I thought some of the low spinning stuff are there.
and he wasn't overpowered either. It wasn't a a gratuitous the Force Unleashed kind of deal, right? And that, when people go on about oh, everyone wanted to see Luke take down Star Destroyers, I didn't want to see that. I never wanted to see that,
No.
right? But I wanted to see the Luke of old. The Luke that we had in Return of the Jedi is what I wanted, right? And that's all I wanted, and I got
This
it there
episode was so like Return of the Jedi, like
yes.
vibes. The whole thing was like even the ending. Like it's
We're still wearing the same clothes.
yeah, he's still in the same clothes.
Well, it speaks to the problem with it being, something we said about, it's easy to be Luke, but you can't believe they go there, because if it is Luke, there's nothing to stop. As vaunted as we want to put Luke to be, and that's why the sequel trilogies are so powerful, because if it's Luke, well then, all right, there's never a problem that can't be solved.
Yeah.
It's like Vader in Rebels. You can't bring Vader into Rebels because there's never going to be a real challenge to him, kind of thing, or whatever. And I believe that's true of telling stories with Luke as a central character, or in the movies for the sequel trilogies, anything, because it's just like, well, okay, nothing's really going to challenge him or whatever. So that's why I think the sequel trilogies are powerful in that sense, because you see him at a point where he is. And I think this even helps to solidify and make, for those that enjoy it, such as myself, makes the sequel trilogies even more powerful and more poignant and more to the point of, oh, wow, what happened to Luke? Because we see this now. We truly see what we wanted to see and wondered about, and so now there's even more to well, what happens? How does he get to that point? Holy crap, what goes on that gets this Luke in chapter 16, to a point of the movies, kind of thing, or whatever. It's just like, we want to know more of that downfall, so to speak.
I need to ask a question which came to mind when I was rewatching yesterday. Yeah, I rewatched it twice. Yeah. And Tony was almost ready to give me a medal today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I was impressed with yourself earlier. Yeah.
I was so proud of you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, but what I was thinking was, we go back to the Ahsoka episode, and you're probably going to answer the question, or it's one of those ones when I asked the question, it sort of answered itself. Why didn't she ever suggest Luke to Mando? Now, does that answer itself by the fact that she came back after the Death Star 2 explosion, that kind of stuff, so she doesn't really know much about what happened?
Well, she doesn't know Luke at all.
Right.
Well, I mean,
She's
Mando
son of
doesn't know.
Skywalker.
She must know, doing her meditation. She must pick up on some Force vibes and that kind of stuff of him.
If she knew that the son of Skywalker was out there, and she ignored that's kind of a hard pill to swallow.
That's always been the problem with the Ahsoka piece, and Ahsoka being around during the OT in terms of alive. She's not around, obviously. She's off gallivanting. So, yeah, it has to be that she's off gallivanting to some extent, because we get to that conundrum of, well, wait, why isn't she helping the take down the Empire? Why isn't she helping the son of Skywalker? All of that. So there's more story to tell.
Knew, and she already met Luke already, because how else would she know about that planet? And maybe maybe she, just points everyone in that direction. Maybe she scouts for Luke in a sense, without really knowing.
Yes, but she could reach out in the Force and find, they could connect in some way. That's where it falls apart. I know, but.
Well, she says there's not many of us left. That was a great
Yeah.
That was a great
Ahsoka's
moment
a Force
to say, why not?
user, but I don't think she's that in tuned with, because she's not a Jedi, and she will tell you that over and over again.
She knows her
She's
place
not a Jedi, so I don't think she's that in tuned and kind of seeing what's out there.
She knows there's not many of them left.
That's an interesting point. We don't really ever see Ahsoka use
meditating.
The Force.
Yeah.
We don't, right? We don't. She's very gifted in her skills, combat skills, and all. But do we ever really see Ahsoka, like Obi-Wan, or like using the Force to
communicated with Grogu? Probably, she was communicating through the Force, because he doesn't speak. Yeah.
But
traditionally,
all those Clone War episodes, we see her fight a lot, and she uses the Force to keep herself alive and jump around and predict a blaster bolt. But do we see her using the Force, like somebody said, in that meditative type of thing? So that's where she's not in tune or not connected to it in that sense.
There's I'm gonna this is kind of nerd lore. Well, look at who I'm talking to. But this is more of a gaming thing. There are classes of Jedi in the games where there are Sentinels, there are Guardians, there are
Yeah.
basically warriors and scouts. So they serve different purposes almost. I would say that Anakin was more of a Guardian who uses the Force for defense, never for attack. But someone like Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon uses the Force for knowledge. Very rarely, or every once in a while, you get a Jedi who does both, like Yoda. But I get the feeling that Ahsoka falls into the category of I guess, Guardian, not Sentinel or Emissary. She fights the small fights as opposed to tackling galactic issues like Qui-Gon and yeah, like the living force versus the cosmic force. So
I don't know, guys. I think you need to think back to the Mortis trilogy stuff, the actual stuff in the Clone Wars, and in that episode in the Mandalorian, there was that owl thing, right? So she's I think she's
yeah,
bigger picture.
yeah,
She's bigger picture than just that. But
She goes where she's needed.
yeah,
I feel like she's always done that, even since Clone Wars and with the even in Rebels and going to the world between worlds and all that stuff. She kind of knows where she's supposed to go, so she kind of
does.
stays out of certain conflicts, and then she comes in
Yeah.
and does the. I feel like she's like, since she's not a Jedi, she feels like she's a pick up the pieces kind of character. Like
Yes.
that's her
Wow.
role.
yeah.
I do think she's bigger picture, but and like you said, she does go where she's needed. But it's really neither here nor
Yes,
there
kind of clarity.
yet because I guess we wait to see what kind of Jedi she is in the series, right? So it's still TBD kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Plus, I don't think she would have been the right person to teach Grogu for the same reason that she doesn't really consider herself a Jedi, and
Yeah.
she's a Force user, but she's not that. I don't think she wants to create more Jedi when she doesn't believe in the Jedi.
But I think it goes back to what she says in that episode. She says, "I don't want to train anybody because I see what could happen." But
Right.
she in the Clone Wars, though, she was with those younglings on Ilum, so that's part of the tradition. Now she's no longer a Jedi,
But
so
yeah, but
right?
that
Back
was
to
that was back when she was with the Order.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But
I don't know.
ultimately, I think, like I said, it goes back to what she said in that episode. She doesn't want to train anybody because she doesn't want anyone to become the next Anakin.
Do you guys think that Luke would have found out all the stuff that he was telling to Rey, in Last Jedi? He would have learned that stuff from Ahsoka at some point if they run into each other. That she explains everything that happened in the Clone Wars and everything with his dad and
That's
all
a good
that stuff.
It's
Yeah, that's a good
possible.
point.
Yeah, I think that'd be something they could help cover.
I'm sure they're bound to meet at some point, whether it's in a book,
Yeah.
comic, or
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought that. Like, I always had that idea, right? That because when they started kind of painting that Ahsoka was still around, and I thought, oh well, for sure, when we didn't see it on screen, but off screen after the battles, like, oh, they hooked up, and then she's like, oh, you're dead, and blah blah blah, the whole thing. But now the way that they're playing around with, we don't really know when Ahsoka was around. I mean, she was. She was gone. We don't know what her involvement was or when she came back or whatever. So at this point, we honestly really don't know whether she's met him or not, or whether they even ever will meet. You know what I mean? But
I'm
but
gonna.
I would
I'm gonna.
imagine that if they did, yeah, of course, she's gonna like totally give him all the stories about his dad.
Yeah, I don't think they've met yet.
Point of view.
Well, this is where we put on our yoga pants and do some stretching, right? I think that Ezra, who met Yoda, who knows of Luke, probably would have mentioned something about these Force users to Ahsoka. But that's something that happens off screen, I guess. That's the headcanon, I guess. But Yoda met Ezra on Lothal, and Yoda's connected to Luke and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and such. So maybe Ezra, I can't imagine Ezra going back to the Ghost and not saying anything to the only other Jedi, well, the other Jedi that he meets who seems to be active in the Force, and not say anything. But like I said, that's me filling in the gaps.
So
Like for the movies, I think Luke is like probably the only Jedi we see reach out in the Force and connect with someone. Like he did it with Leia. He
Yeah.
did it with
Yeah.
a couple times
Yeah.
with like
I'm
sequence.
gonna. I want to bring it because we're going to run out of time quickly. Bring it back to the episode. Did anyone else? So the same feels that I got for Luke and everything was just dumbfounded by how the emotions washing over me. Did anyone get the same thing when R2 rolls in? Because when
Oh,
R2 rolls in, I got a second
think
wave
even
of
more
holy
from-
crap!
Yeah,
I can't believe they're doing this. You know,
Yeah.
what a great cherry on
awesome.
top of a perfect piece of cake that was Luke is
Yeah.
to have R2 roll in.
His
And-
buddy.
And
Yeah.
I've seen some people post or whatever that it's interesting that Grogu wasn't really he said go and gave him permission, sets him down, but Grogu's back to climbing on his leg. Doesn't want to go basically. But when R2 rolls in, Grogu is intrigued by R2, and I first blush took it as a little kid kind of intrigued. Every kid loves R2, and that's why it goes over to him. But I've seen some chatter. Could it have been R2 that had something to do in rescuing
With the rescue. Wow.
or is R2 a recognized figure to Grogu because it's
Yeah, that's
R2?
what I thought.
It just
Yeah.
it's like something familiar. I recognize this and helps to go to it, but. Yeah, that R2 rolling in was just another, whatever the reverse of gut punch is in terms of a good thing, because it was that a second time, which was just wonderfully executed, and the helmet. So that was the other thing, the removal of the helmet. Did they not spoil it, but could it have been more? It was very powerful to see because he did it, but he had just done it the episode before.
Yeah.
They should have saved it.
Yeah, if he hadn't done it there and saved it for this, I think that could have been just even holy cow kind of moment. But it was.
He
neat
didn't do it
that
for
he did.
survival this time. He did it because he wanted to, and he
Touche.
wanted.
That's a
to
great
see
point.
his
That is a
face,
great point.
you know?
But he
Yeah.
absolutely had to. There was no way out of it. You had to throw the code out at that point for survival. This was truly by choice to throw the code out at this point for this scene, for this moment in time.
He's like, I gotta look at this kid with my own eye.
It. Yeah.
You know?
So that's a great point, Ricky.
Go,
they are two separate moments.
go.
Just go. Yeah.
It brought the
Tell
whole,
your
the
tell your
whole
sister
thing
you-
full
right.
circle. It
Yeah.
brought the whole thing full circle because
Yeah.
at the beginning of the series, nothing was more important to Mando than his creed. And the whole thing about have you ever shown your face to anyone, and that whole thing. So it's like nothing was more important than that until we come all the way to the end here, and now basically nothing is more important to him than Grogu.
That's beautiful. Yep. Love it.
Yep. I got a little bit of the Shmi Skywalker vibe off of that too when she's with Anakin on Tatooine,
Yes.
right? And she says, "Don't look back,"
Yeah.
or I think that's what she says. And Mando says, "Don't be afraid." He says, "Don't be afraid." Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very much so. That thing. But the other thing I wanted to say, back to the point about R2, I feel like with these iconic characters, Superman, Batman, Luke Skywalker, they all have these components to them. So Batman has, obviously the ears and the cowl and cape and the symbol and the belt and the boots. Luke is very much like that, and I feel like R2 is a piece of that because Luke, you've got that cool belt, the hilt, the cloak, the black glove, and R2 I feel is another big component of the Luke Skywalker character.
Yeah.
It's the collector set.
Absolutely.
So did the deep fake and the voice stuff all work for people? So I hear one or two people moaning about that online as people might do.
It worked enough. I think
it's
the emotion and the what it was overpowered the fact that it wasn't perfect, but at least for me, it did.
Are they? They never are.
I was willing to overlook that just because of what we were getting. You know what I mean?
Amen.
And I couldn't have expected a whole lot more than that. So I mean, I was fine with it.
He throws that hood back.
I thought they used old footage, so I'm like, no, it's clearly CGI. But I mean, to some people, it looks like they just used old footage from the other movies.
No, it was like what they did.
I know they didn't, but I'm just,
Rogue One.
I know they didn't, but I'm just saying, like other people that aren't so in tune like us, like they didn't really pay too much attention to it. Yeah.
He throws that hood back, and how the sausage made goes out the window.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that without knowing how the sausage is made. So having a problem with how the sausage is made in order to get that on screen, either you want Luke Skywalker back or you don't. So you
Yeah.
can't complain
Right.
about it was CGI and
Yeah.
it was so bad
Yeah.
and CGI and it
It was.
could have been a
Yeah.
what just pound
Accept it.
sand.
Just take it.
Accept it. This is how we get Luke. The best part of all that I wondered, and we got Mark's voice.
Yes.
Mark.
Yeah.
That's what I
Wow.
was also excited for. And as much as I was excited for the fans that wanted Luke, and for my nephew to be able,
Yeah.
Mark got to portray and got to see Luke be Luke that he wanted, and it was a little upset with and not getting to do in the sequel. So he was very excited about it. And I saw
He did
someone
a couple
post
of-
that he had a tweet somewhere late
Yeah.
Saturday. Mark, the ultimate internet troll, he's just a gifted individual. That his tweet was, "So, have you seen anything good on TV lately?"
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just
So
beautiful,
awesome.
beautiful tweet that he knows
Yeah.
exactly what we saw and what we took in and all of that.
Yeah.
That is just the best tweet ever in terms of timing and what it means, kind of thing, whatever, to have that.
He later
My
said,
eight-year-
I don't know
My
how he
8-year-old
kept the
nephew,
secret
my
for a year.
8-year-old nephew had no idea that it was. He took it as Luke.
Yeah.
He's CGI and fake, and it's an old guy, an actor. He has no idea that that's a concept or a thing. He saw Luke on the screen talking to the Mandalorian with R2. So the CGI stuff out the window.
Yeah.
If that kid buys it, then it works, and that's the point of what we
So
got.
Yeah.
I want to ask this question: do we think there's potential now? Do you think that because of the overwhelming reaction of this appearance by Luke in Mandalorian, do we think that there's potential for a spin-off? Do you think that Disney's gonna look at this and gonna say, "Oh my gosh, people are just over the moon for this"? Is there a potential there for a spin-off for Luke in this time frame with him traveling the galaxy and doing exactly what he just did just then?
I'd say there is,
Just
but
gathering-
not with Mark Hamill.
But
Right.
telling what story, and when would there ever be peril or strife, and who is he? I kind of like it open ended. But again, I've always said this: unless somebody comes up with a creative, don't do it just to fart out content. Don't do it just to
Right.
put a Luke Skywalker because it'll sell and it's the right time to do it. If somebody a creative comes up and says, "I've got a pitch for a Star Wars, for a Mark Hamill, or for a Luke Skywalker thing for 2 series or whatever, to tell a story to get us from point A to point B or closer to point B or something like that, and it's good, then yeah, run with it." But God, I hope you just don't do it just because you can, because the iron's hot. Don't strike, don't have that kind of mentality and water down Luke, water down the epic
If they
journey
use him
of character.
sparingly throughout these other shows, I'm fine with it. Like, even if we get like one scene,
Well, but that's also always the problem with Luke bringing him back. We said about how could he and will they actually do it? It makes sense, but will they do it?
Yeah.
Well, now that he's in play, you're always going to have that. Well, why didn't Luke come save him? Why didn't there's going to be that potential aspect of storytelling that's always going to be you got to have some reason why he couldn't, and with him having Grogu and what we know about him, there could be that's why, because he's trying to rebuild a Jedi Order or something to that extent.
That's a
and
point
these
I
aren't
wanted to make.
large scale, skirmishes either. So.
Because they always would say, I know I would hear like, oh well, if you bring back or you bring somebody like from the big 3, let's just say,
Right.
it kind of really overpowers whatever you're trying to do, and I felt that as much as I loved it, as much as I wanted to see it, as much as I got it, I'm so happy we did. From the point of view of like say what the writers were trying to do with their story, I felt like it totally overpowered. Because look, honestly, if you really step back right now, all anybody's really talking about is Luke Skywalker. Nobody's really talking as much or about Grogu leaving. You know what I mean? Like that's secondary. You know what I mean? And that was the main thing of the show, not Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? But so I do see how bringing these characters in, it sort of derails the story. I'm glad to see. I mean, fine, derail the story. I don't care.
I can understand it. I can understand
people, but I do see where that could happen.
I can understand your point, but at the same time, I can see it as Luke is the vehicle to remove Grogu from the Mandalorian because this season, it's been a lot of fetch quests and a lot of, I got to go to point A
Yeah.
to point B. And they kind of had to take him off the board because I think it was really hamstringing the creativity in some terms of the storytelling. They really did have to take him away. And I'm sure we're going to see him again. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah.
But it's just, I felt like he had to come off the board at least for a short period of time in a safe place, right? Like I just felt like that had to happen. And the real two pillars of that episode, of course, was Luke, but the other part of it was that that tearing your heart apart about Grogu leaving the Mandalorian. So yeah, Luke was huge this time, but that was a big part of that, and that's been the core of this show is that relationship. So
Well, and then
yeah,
now they move forward with the whole restoring Mandalore thing, which
exactly
looks apparent like that's
Yeah.
what they're going to go for.
Yeah.
And it's
Which I wanted to ask you guys though. What do you think the deal was with Bo-Katan not being able to take the sword when Sabine clearly gave it to her? Do you think Gideon took it from her previously, like they have history there, or do you think it was maybe somebody else?
I think that Gideon definitely probably took it from her. But the other thing is, I think I said, and I think has been said, like, how come she couldn't just accept it from Mandalorian the way she did from Sabine? There's obviously a reason.
There's
Yeah.
something in Moff Gideon's speech where he says again. She can't take it again, or she can't be given it again, or something.
Yeah.
He says the
So
word
there's
again.
obviously a reason that we don't know, and I'm sure it'll get explained. It's just like how come Mando couldn't take his helmet off when everybody else could? There was a reason. We just don't know what that reason is yet. But
It makes for, like you say,
more
good
story,
season
more
3,
story
season
to
4
tell
fodder. Exactly.
We'll find out next season.
To the point of bringing one of the big 3 back, and if you did that, if they did that in the movies, right? The movie creatives said that they had that issue. If you bring that back, they take over the whole thing, take over the scene, take over the movie. It'd be very true of the movie that has a 2-hour-ish time constraint, whereas here in a series they can do what they did, and it doesn't take over the whole thing and be be that big thing that's in front of it. They can address it and go away from it because they have all these other through lines and they have multiple seasons, multiple hours to catch up. The Mandalorian versus the sequel trilogy has so much more content because it's been 16 chapters at however the time frame was. True, the Clone Wars, it's been able to expand out, whereas a movie is a 2-hour hit of trying to encapsulate.
I think that I have something to say to that, Ron. You can create your own reality when you're writing stuff that's imaginary. You know what I mean? So for someone whose job it is to create imaginary things, to say that they are constrained by imaginary things is kind of a cop-out. Like Ricky said, you can have Luke sprinkled amongst all the other new Star Wars projects, and he won't take over the show. He could show up in Ahsoka. He could show up in Lando. He could show up in
very sparingly though.
Yeah, you can't sprinkle him in a movie. You can't have him come in for 15.
And that's the difference between the show and the sequels, because you have to have big stories for movies. You can't have big stories or small stories like you have on Mandalorian. Fill in a movie that everyone's going to buy a ticket to and go, and that's the difference between the timelines and the movies and the shows.
But I believe that more resources and more creativity goes into a major motion picture than to a Disney Plus series. So when you have the ending saga, the trilogy, the saga ending trilogy, and you're saying that you can introduce a legacy character, which the legacy has been built upon. When you're saying you can't introduce him properly because he's going to suck all the air. Michael Arndt said that. He said that he can't write Luke Skywalker because every time he showed up, he got all the focus, right? This is the thing. We just saw it.
Yeah.
We just saw it. We just saw it on screen. And it was done in one episode. Not 3.
And he sucked all the focus.
Yeah, he sucked all the focus.
And he sucked all the focus.
No, but
I think you're hurting your point, Alex.
No. He look, the impactful moment of that episode was Luke Skywalker showing up. But the impactful moment of the series that's been going on for 2 seasons was Grogu leaving.
Yep, that was the emotional climax right there.
Let's
The Grogu. Yep.
let's not bury the point. I mean, I love Luke Skywalker, and I want him to be
Time will
serviced
tell.
properly.
What we'll talk about the Mandalorian season 2 was how epic it was to see Luke.
Well,
Not how
that's
tragic it was that the Grogu left.
Well, people, yeah, you know what? You're right because
So I think he did, but because it's episodic, they can pump air back into it next season.
But how much of a downer would
because
it have been to end the season without Luke and have Grogu still gone? You needed that in there to
You
balance
did,
it.
All right, so there you have it.
Otherwise, Christmas is ruined for millions of children.
Childhoods, entire childhoods.
Yes.
Second watch, I would have liked to have seen or liked to have heard some more John Williams-esque music as Luke's fighting around.
Yeah, I
but then
expected
you can't have
Luke's
John
theme.
Williams Luke theme fighting around because then it would instantly.
I wanted more of the robot dubstep that we got when the Dark Troopers were coming. That was amazing.
Hey, does the static Starfield bother anybody when they're on the bridge of the ship? Okay, thank you. Yeah, just of all the details that they pay attention to or whatever. That static Starfield just
I noticed
like
that.
a painted
and
background.
as well. Beginning.
It's not
But
digital. It's like
they have the volume. How come they couldn't have used the volume for that? I mean,
animate the
that
volume.
thing is amazing.
that
And they couldn't do a cool Starfield with that.
You know, I didn't even notice that, but.
And then they definitely have an Anakin Grievous situation on their hands in terms of Luke and Boba Fett can't get together in the same room.
Yeah.
Right.
Those two.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, I think, has more history against Luke than Luke might not recognize. He obviously didn't care or recognize because he was in a room full of Mandos and didn't like freak out at all. He didn't know when that bridge door opens, he doesn't know what he's getting into. He can sense through the Force maybe there's 4 or 5 people in there, but he doesn't. So when that door opens up, he kind of should have a little bit of what am I walking into situation. He's Luke Skywalker. He's not going to care about that. But Luke and Boba Fett can't really get together because how's that going to go, right? That can't.
Awkward.
that leads into the ending, the after credits scene.
So that's why I was trying to
the bad guy.
Going to run out of time. Is right. Did everybody stay, or did you have to go back and find out?
The first time I did not. It was the second time.
I was so wrapped in
I
emotion,
did 6
and
minutes
I was
left.
so soaking it in, trying to figure out what I just witnessed, and just in all of, and the credits are rolling, and I'm trying to just like, holy crap, gather myself to some extent or whatever, and then it shows up, and I'm like, oh, okay.
So the ending was the only real disappointment in some respects, in that the way they played it. I was disappointed we didn't get the images. The visual.
The concept art.
Yeah.
The concept,
Yeah.
So didn't even not miss that one.
Well, I totally did because I love that. Because I watched.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was like, wait, where's the pictures? Yeah.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
And I sooner they put the Boba Fett thing right at the end, or right after the last scene, rather than just inject it midway through credits rolling in, which just seemed really odd. But
so
I knew there was
survive?
something to come because actually there's still 6 minutes left on the timer, so I knew there was something coming up.
How does Bib survive? Wasn't he not on the barge?
He was on the barge.
We asked that.
He was on the barge, but who knows?
Okay, so he wasn't. That was the question I needed to know. He was in fact on the.
That's probably why he's gained so much weight. He's just been recuperating. He hasn't been able to exercise.
Scoffing everything since then.
This isn't too much longer afterwards, and it speaks volumes as to what happened to Jabba's palace, because we kind of figured everybody was watching that or whatever. So,
I mean, was it worth bringing him back just for that?
Yeah,
that 20 seconds.
I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why Fett. Why was Fett so mad at him?
Yeah, that's what I think. Maybe he knew he just never went back to go save him, or he ditched him.
Well, yeah, nobody did. Yeah.
That's what it would have been. And wait, if you're alive, then that means you could have come help me. But it also speaks volumes of where's the slave one, because he didn't park it knowing he was going to be digesting in a Sarlacc pit. So he had to have parked it somewhere convenient.
Sausage.
I think it's got penalty notices on it now.
Sausage,
I mean, how did Boba lose his armor? Maybe Bib Fortuna had something to do with that too.
I was surprised he took him out. I thought he was. I just did not see that coming or whatever. So when he took him out, I was like, oh man.
So does he take over? Does he take over Jabba's? Is he taking over Jabba's empire?
Which they kind of set up in like the second episode with the Marshall guy, where he's like, yeah, once the Death Star blew up, which was coinciding with Jabba being killed and lawlessness on Tatooine, somebody has to keep order.
Okay.
Well, then that
Okay.
speaks
So
to
it
the
makes
two
it
is
makes
what
sense that Bib would have taken over. I mean, he was the second in
He was
Yeah.
running things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of, I guess, right?
right.
The
So,
one
but
of
yeah.
So-
So, do we think the Fett series, like there was speculation, it was going to be or is it going to be flashbacky, or is it going to jump all around? Because we see him take the throne. That's with Fennec, so that's in the same timeline as the Mandalorian.
I think I think the Boba Fett, whatever it is going to fill in what happened after the Sarlacc, leading all the way up to Mandalorian, and then it'll just kick in with what he's going to do with Jabba's palace and empire.
Hey, you got how does Fett end?
You can bring Hondo in. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can do all kinds of stuff with
Mm.
pirates.
Well, that's true. Yeah. And really Disney could really gin up the Batu and do a lot of stuff there.
Bring
That
back
hope so.
Dengar
where
and
I talk
Ross.
about farting out. They could fart out content all they want that doesn't
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 interrupt
affect. Yeah, it doesn't interrupt. Doesn't hurt the saga aspect of things or whatever,
No.
and doesn't mess with any sort of continuity. It might mess with the EU folks to some extent, but
I mean, who are they posing to at the end? Because he shoots Bib, chucks him out the chair, sits
the
down.
fans.
he goes off
It
and
was a
gets a drink.
Sopranos moment.
That was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was for us. That was for every Boba Fett fan out there.
It was their Christmas card.
Yeah, that was it.
Ooh.
Which, by the way, I saw that Paul Bateman posted that yes, the Boba Show is one thing and season 3 is another thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Wow.
that both are coming. They're not, one's not supplanting.
So to that end, did the season 2 feel like is this a season finale? Did I miss a memo somewhere? Because it definitely had my daughter thought that. She's like, wait, is this over?
Well, like the
Because
series, yeah.
Grogu's, is gone. I'm like,
I had that too.
helped themselves.
Somebody
I
was.
think I think they
Yep.
just really, after all that Luke turning up and that kind of stuff, I think they really muddied the waters at the end, and that was just the end for my brain. I ain't got a clue what's going on now.
as
I
secretive
could've done with that.
as the show needed to be, because there was just no spoilers about Luke coming back and even Baby Yoda and all that. Was there a marketing department head, president, vice president, or somewhere that got blindsided Friday and said, "Wait, what? There's no
Well, I
more
think there was a
Grogu?"
24-hour leak, wasn't there? Because Will and Matt were going on about don't look at Twitter.
Yeah.
Well,
Was
that
that-
was because
was that
of
Luke,
Luke.
was it?
What I'm suggesting is, did a marketing guy in Disney just found out that his gold mine or their gold mine, I shouldn't say his, that their gold mine that is Grogu has just gone away, or were they given a heads up? Because the Razor Crest was kept silent, Luke was kept silent, even Baby Yoda was kept silent. There wasn't a lot of leaks around it.
Baby
So-
Yoda animated series coming soon.
In order to keep that leak, stringent, did they not warn some marketing yahoo that, oh yeah, all that merch that you're selling for Baby Yoda, you better milk that cow now, baby, because it's not going to be around next season for the Mando because he's gone. I was surprised.
That, I think
Aren't you glad that's not the case, though?
I mean, I think
Doesn't
they knew that he
dictates
was
the
going to
show.
be hot for a minute, but I think when a character is popular, it's popular. Whether he's
You
gone
strike
or
while
whether he's
iron's hot,
alive, or
sure.
whether
I really
No,
think they
but
kept.
yeah.
I really believe towards they kept Yoda quiet in terms of not leaking her hand, because there was a potential fear of Jar Jar backlashes to, wait, there can't be a baby. That they sprung it on us. We accepted it a lot more easier than we did if we'd have had time to think about. If we would have saw it in a preview or something and started speculating and started expecting and started ruminating on what it means to see this little baby green Yoda looking thing. But to have it surprised on us, we all loved it.
I think Star Wars
Right.
does show that you can show a character for a minute or like have them die in a movie and they're still widely popular for years.
Well,
and
if
years
the
on end.
story's good, that's
Yeah,
always my
exactly.
thing. You write the right story, man. That's very, very true. Make it about the story.
So, all right,
Yeah,
so next season, when is there a date for the next season?
Next
No, I
year,
don't
this
think
time
they've
next
given
year,
a
innit?
date.
Book of
December,
Boba
yeah.
said December
Starts-
2021, but season 3 should start in October. But I think COVID had pushed things back potentially. So whenever it starts, we'll all welcome it and watch it. Can't happen soon enough.
Yeah, the season actually started earlier this year because it was in mid-November when the
Yeah.
season premiered. It was the 10th, I believe.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we've got the behind the scenes stuff next week, haven't we? So
Right.
Yeah, I heard that.
that should be quite interesting.
they're not doing this. The last one, the last gallery was like 5 episodes, but I heard this is just going to be like a 1 hour or 2 hour, whatever it is, special, and that's you're just going to.
Just
I didn't finish
one
watching
thing,
the first
basically.
season.
Yeah.
I didn't finish watching them for the first season.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
No,
I,
I
I
haven't
really
yet.
Oh, really?
Soak 'em, yeah, go soak 'em in.
I
They're
just watched
good.
them. Yeah.
I think I watched
mean,
like the first two, maybe first 2 or
There's
3.
a really good Filoni spiel he does. He goes on for about 10 minutes and he ties
Yeah, I think that
in.
was the last. Yeah, I think I did see that one.
And the
Yeah.
music one was good too. Hey, to
Yeah.
that point, I've posted this or whatever. I also, in that wash of emotions, I felt for Dave and I felt for John because as fans, they're in the George Lucas world of they don't get to experience this. Filoni is such a fan. Filoni's a cosplaying. He's one of us to some. He's not far removed from being sitting on a Sunday on his computer chatting with us type of thing or whatever. And he didn't get that experience. He does in terms of creating it, and he does in terms of being so much more closer to it and working with it and all that stuff that he wanted to do as his career and all that. But there's some part of me that feels for him a little bit because they're no longer fans that get to enjoy what someone creates. So I'm hopeful for the other projects that they have, that he will be removed from it to some extent and be able to be a fan of something that's new Star Wars that he's not,
GL got to enjoy it.
Right. Well, yeah. How much? That's a great thing, Ricky. Yeah. How much of this was totally surprised upon GL that if he watches this and sees faster, more intense Luke.
But clearly they have their finger on the pulse of fandom because the gift they just gave us, I mean, come on.
To keep it secret, that's the best part.
Yeah.
For all of those, when I watch the credits and see all those names and hundreds, maybe 1,000, just the hundreds upon hundreds of names. Now, how many of them knew about Luke or whatever? But for in this day and age, for that to stay secret that it did, because we all speculated it could be Luke, but I didn't hear any rumors, rumblings. Now, I don't go searching for it either. Maybe it was out there on Reddit, but I didn't hear anything. It's like, oh, watch this last, Luke's going to be. Was it out there from somebody speculating, or was it out there from somebody actually saying, I know for a fact we're going to see him?
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
So anyway, in this day and age, for that
stuff,
to be the surprise, awesome, just awesome.
Yeah, I guess Mark said that they had to keep it secret for like a year or so. That he's glad that it's nearly out now. Yeah, he tweeted something about like, I can't believe we were able to keep this a secret for over a year.
Well, he did, and somebody had texted me, stay off the internet Friday or whatever, because get on there kind of thing. And once or twice I got on there, I was like, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to not watch, or there's a new Mandalorian. Work and life has been so crazy, I kind of lost sight of it being the season finale. I mean, I knew it was, but I wasn't thinking it was going to be this epic season finale kind of thing or whatever. It's just, I know I need to stay away from the internet on Fridays type of mentality. And once or twice I got on there, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I need to stay with God. I'm so glad I did not get spoiled.
Yeah, we all stayed up till like 1 a.m. till the episode dropped to watch it, and I'm glad we did. I mean, it felt like we're waiting in a theater to watch a movie, to watch the Star Wars episode come. It was.
So how does that work, Ricky? You're just hitting refresh on Disney Plus, waiting for
it. And then it went down like right at 1, and so nothing was happening. And so then I tried on my phone, it wasn't working. I tried it on the TV, like it just wouldn't play, and then it kept saying error, and then finally it did, and we're like, okay, good. Yeah. Yeah, so that was fun. It felt like watching episode 3 when it came out at midnight, or episode 2 when it came out at midnight. I wish they still did the new ones at midnight. Now it's like you get 6 o'clock.
I like the destination viewership type of model that they're bringing back with Mandalorian, because, like you said, Ron, I'll go dark for 48 hours on Thursday, starting Thursday into Saturday morning. And I'll get off the internet. As a matter of fact, I kind of got spoiled because I went onto one of the pages, and the picture on like the first picture that came up when I opened up the fan page was Luke Skywalker, a comparison between Return of Jedi Luke and new Luke. So I was like, oh man, but it wasn't a surprise to me. I was sure that it was Luke. So, but immediately after that, I shut off my computer and went to cry in a corner. but like you said, it's I can easily on my phone at work because I work nights. I can watch it as soon as it premieres, but I'll wait until Saturday
Oh,
afternoon
please, yeah.
when the kids
Don't watch
and the
it for your
wife.
first time on your phone. I
Right,
beg of you.
right.
I beg of
Yeah.
all of you.
It's amazing, right? It's amazing how quiet they've been keep. This is, the same thing with Baby Grogu, or it's to spring this on an unsuspecting public. This is a nice kind of surprise. I don't like the other kind of surprises, But I was like, okay, look, it's confirmed. It's Luke. What I didn't what I didn't expect was the gut punch, like you said. Like you can know, like when your wife is pregnant and you're expecting a child for 9 months, you're getting ready for this kid. You're like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set up the room. We're gonna do this, that, and the other thing. And then when the baby comes, you realize that all your preparations have gone right out the window. So when Luke comes in and he takes off the hood, I was like, wow, this is like unexpectedly emotional. It's so. I think the period of time between episodes definitely helps to make you wonder what's going
Twofold,
on.
period, and then there's no trailer. A movie gets a trailer to entice
Yes.
people to come see it. That's not
Yeah,
necessary
yeah.
for an episodic show or whatever. We're all
Yeah,
coming anyway.
yeah.
So, right, a movie kind of not spoils you, but a movie you kind of know what's going on because of some of the spoil or some of the stuff seen in a trailer.
And when the trend is to binge, for these guys to say, we're not going to let you guys binge. You can binge afterwards, but we're going to premiere each one of these. Like Ricky said, 1:00 in the morning every Friday. People are lining up for that stuff.
I can't see any major franchise going with the binge, drop them all at once. Something new, something that needs to curry favor or curry an audience or whatever, it will drop all its things at once. But I would think anything major like this, Game of Thrones or some sort of franchise thing, will see the value in the week-to-week drop.
In the build-up, okay.
Because you get buzz all week long, you get talked up. But if you're a no-name thing trying to start up or gin up a fan base or something, yeah, if you drop it all, then people can see the whole story all at once. Versus
with Stranger Things, they do that. Like it drops all at once, and by the time you're on the third episode, some of it will be finished and reviewed it 4 times.
Yeah. Do you know if the Stranger Things has continued the binge model where they put them all out at once, or because The Boys was, people got majorly upset because the first season of The Boys was like one binge, all 8 episodes came out in one shot. But this season, people were like, hey, wait a minute, why are you doing this? They started doing weekly, and
as far as I know, I mean. The new season got delayed, I think, because of COVID. But so I mean, they did release a trailer, but I don't even know when that's supposed to come out now. So I'm assuming they're going to drop it all like they have.
So the next Senate session, we get to talk.
We got to save something for next. It's only a couple of weeks away.
Review,
dissect a little bit more, or jump into the various bits of what ifs.
And we have got all the
great recap of the episode.
We could compare the Death Stars again.
Yeah.
And plus, like you say, we will have the gallery. We've got a bit of time in there. We will have the gallery to maybe see.
And all the other new shows and stuff which we haven't.
All the news that dropped. Yeah.
And Christmas.
And Christmas. Yeah. All that. Yes. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yep, this has been an absolutely fantastic Senate session, everyone.
Thank you for sharing with us, Ron. It's
Oh yeah.
You're
mad. I mean, got me emotional. I wasn't even emotional.
I was. I was gonna say it was like that scene in Stand By Me where one guy starts throwing up, and then the other guy starts throwing up. Except it was
an odd comparison.
Steven's not seen it
yet. In the other, Steven's not seen it yet. All right. So on that note, how many times, Steven, you've seen it twice? How many times has everybody seen it? I think I'm up to 5.
I've seen it
twice only.
I've only seen it once. I saw it last night. So there are people who saw it when it came out. I saw it first time last night. So
you're the Steven of the group?
It's not going to happen very often. So
American Steven.
There's a cool video I found on YouTube where somebody put the scene from Luke going through back to back with cutting intertwined with the Vader scene from Rogue One. and
Oh, right.
it patches up pretty good. I'll try to post the link for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
post
it's
that in the
pretty.
chat. I saw that. That was good.
Father and son.
Yeah,
Very good.
epic stuff, fellas,
Okay, folks.
ladies, everyone, senators. Great,
See
great
you all
stuff.
again.
May
Hey,
the force.
everyone,
next
stay safe
time.
out there. Stay safe.
Merry
out there.
Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Merry
folks.
Christmas.
May the force be with you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.